Listen up, man. We need a reset TV. This is your host gravitating away. And before we begin, guys, do me a favor, man. You gotta do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that like button. Spike Lee that joint. Do the right thing and subscribe. Share, man. Look, I don't really critique too many movies when I'm doing my thing. Me and the wife just came back from watching Sinners, and it was a couple good friends of mine that told me, check it out. And let me tell y'all something, man. It's been years since I even entertained anything that's dealing with demons and, things of that nature, demonic forces. I'm not really into that. You can call it my faith. Call it what it is. I'm not the most religious person, but it's just something that as I've gotten older, I understand there's gateways that we possess. And if you entertain too much of those things, man, and you're not really built or powerful enough to protect yourself from certain entities, I do believe, you can allow yourself to be overtaken. But not to go too deep, man, let me tell you something. If you haven't watched this movie, I implore most of y'all, don't take my word about anything I'm about to tell y'all. Watch this movie, man. Watch this movie. Ryan, man. I'm not even the biggest fan of Mr. Coogler, yo. Wakanda, yeah, it had its highlights, but I'm just not the biggest fan of it. Michael B. Jordan, another brother that I support, but I always thought that, he could give us some more. So I was never okay with his acting in terms of his potential. I always knew he had potential other than just being a heartthrob, sex symbol, somebody that, they throw out there for the ladies, but he was always missing something to me. Well, folks, I think in this film, he found his range, man. He found his range. And I don't want to go through too much of the movie, but I'll say this. Ryan, I don't know what you've been going through with Hollywood, Hollyweird, but shout out to you, man. If this movie does not get an Oscar, I understand why. Because Ryan went against the grain, y'all. In the concept of good versus evil, which is the root of this movie, you got Michael B. Jordan playing himself and his fictional twin character. And it's not something cheesy as one would expect. Ryan did a great job of making both twins, right? Each one that is unique in their own way. And there was a scene where towards the end, Michael B. Jordan is trying to roll a cigarette, but he couldn't because that was the role of his twin. And his twin already, went on the other side, if you know what I mean. And if you don't, he basically was overtaken by the vampires, i.e. meaning the demons. So it showed a fragile, broken man. And just little details like that is one of many that gives this film such a great take, man. Like, if you leave that film, here's the thing. Many people will leave that film with their own narratives in their minds. But I saw what Ryan was trying to do, man. If I was a betting man, I would say that my opinion and that of many others respect where Ryan went with this film, man. One of the most important characters was Michael B. Jordan's younger cousin, Little Sammy, in the film. And Little Sammy's father is a preacher. And the typical trope of a father talking to the prodigal son about right and wrong, I started going in layers, understanding what Ryan was conveying to us. Little Sammy's father was the representation of God. Because through the entire time, he loved his son. But even though his son wanted to go in the world, he didn't stop his son. He counseled his son, but he gave him the choice. in the scene in the juke joints, right? What we would consider the clubs today, but they were showing a timeline in the 60s. And in those juke joints, right? In that specific juke joint where Michael B. Jordan and his twin bought it out from a white man who apparently was a part of a clan, they wanted to start an adventure, right? Meaning economically, they wanted to start their own thing business-wise with the potential of something from a great night that can turn into something greater, meaning a big draw around the community. They wanted to have the top spot, the best musicians, best singers, you know? And what ended up happening was it attracted the entity of the devil. And these demons come out here turning people over through the concept of vampires, but it's rooted and based off of demons. And I remember me and my wife was thinking, why couldn't they just walk through the door? And the demons just kept waiting to be invited in. And again, I'm not trying to be one of these reactors where I'm just giving you spoilers. Even if you watched it, my reaction is really to ask y'all, did you understand what Ryan was trying to portray, man? Because it was definitely powerful, guys. Like, I'm not gonna kid you, I'm not a fan of Hollywood. I don't really watch too many movies. And sometimes certain black directors, I don't know what angle they're going with. I don't know who's behind them. But apparently Ryan pushed this on his own. You know, Ryan, from production, writing, he did his own thing. He did his own thing. So I wonder, him going against the grain with Hollywood, what's gonna come about this. But I will say this, I'm giving this man his flowers. I'm giving the actors and actresses their flowers, guys. I don't want to stay too long on this. I implore y'all to go check this film out. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it. For 2025, this is probably one of the top movies. I'm not gonna go so far ahead and say this is the best movie, but creative wise, concept wise, and if you're someone that's aware with spirituality, the concept of good and evil, the reality actually of good and evil, this is a movie y'all need to check out. I'm amazed, guys. And it takes me a while to be amazed. Michael B. Jordan, bravo, brother. Bravo, because, you know, people for a while been making jokes about your films, about it being bad, and I always knew you had the potential. Shout out to Ryan for bringing that out. Look, I said enough. It's so many things we can discuss, but like I said, this is not really my niche, reacting to movies, but I left amazed. Shout out to the audience that I had. And if you so happen to be with white folks watching that film, white folks, I warn you now, man. Farrakhan would be proud, because who they portrayed as the demons versus who they portrayed as, you know, quote unquote God's people. Hey, man, it was right there smack in your face. But there was a twist in the film where, like, it showed you no matter who and how you're reared to view on what's the devil and what's good, there's pure confusion there. Anyone can be caught up in the web of the devil, man. I left that film feeling like I'm happy I took the chance to watch it. And I hope y'all do the same, man. This was Gravitating Away on Reset TV. And I just had to let y'all know, man, I just finished watching one of the greatest films that I have ever seen in my life when it comes into the concept of righteousness and evil. It's a great film, guys. I implore you once again to go check it out. I'm out.